Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. EQ8 Nostalgia here, in Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare 2 beta has closed. It's over. It's been a glorious 4 days. I've enjoyed myself immensely. Hopefully you caught a few of the streams that I put out there. I did stream kind of late at night. For that, I apologize, but I had a blast. So in this video, I want to give that beta a review, and I also want to talk about some of the things that I would like to see changed, because I did not like everything that I saw. Now, this is a beta, and obviously it goes without saying that there are things that are going to be changed, but here's the thing. I want to get this out of the way. Betas nowadays are not like betas used to be back in the day. They're not. They're just very different. It's more like a demo to get people hyped, to sell pre-orders, and then, you know, they'll stress test the servers and see what kind of server load they have to deal with, and they'll work out some minor things, like maybe they'll tweak a character that people think is overpowered and things like that. But for the most part, by and large, this game is finished. This is pretty much what you're gonna get. So first and foremost, I want to talk about the backyard battleground. I absolutely love this concept. I would like to see more games do this, more shooters in particular, because instead of a static menu, you've got this big battleground that you can just run around in. And the whole flag of power thing is pretty cool. I like that you can gather friends there, or you can solo with it. It seems to me like after a while it's just absolutely insane, so you can't really solo too well unless you play as the vampire flower, because she is insanely overpowered in that game mode. She has so much sustain. But I thought that was fun, but what I think is most interesting is that you can get a party of friends together. You can get 4 friends and invade the opposite faction's base. And when you do, you can cause a lot of chaos. Now, once you walk up to their door, all of the enemies start pouring out slowly over time. The alarm goes off, and you just know that things just got real. And it gets really crazy, guys. I love that. It feels like you're going on a raid, like you're just raiding their base. And you can get inside of their base, and the longer you're there, the more they start throwing more and more mean enemies after you, like bosses and stuff. I think that's just brilliant. I love that feature. I love the sandbox feel of it, but at the same time, I feel like it's a little too small. Maybe I'm just being picky here, but I would like to see it be a little bit bigger. I had it in my head when I first heard about it as just being this really big neighborhood. It's not that big. I mean, it's decent size, but hopefully they will expand upon it. And this was a beta. There might be some areas we haven't seen that they bring out, to be fair, but I'm pretty sure we're not going to see much more. I know there is a secret area that you could go into underground, and I showed people that on my stream, so I don't know what that's all about. I'm very interested to see what's going to be in there. I was not able to get into Dave's garage, and I also noticed that the Zomboss area, it has like a panel with the Zomboss on the screen, and there's also what looks like a vault to the side. I don't know if maybe you'll be getting quests from the Zomboss as well over in that particular area, but for the most part I really enjoyed it. But I was thinking something maybe along the lines of when new DLC comes out, they can expand upon the backyard area and make it bigger. One of my favorite maps of all time in any shooter ever is Walnut Hills from the original Garden Warfare. I absolutely love that map. The neighborhood, the feel of it, the way that it progressed, I love it. I would like to see the backyard battleground open up more into something maybe about half the size of that. And then if you have played that map, you know that we're talking massive here. But I know they can do this because it's kind of how their maps are online, right? So they can do this for single player. Now, I know they're probably concerned with making it too big, because then it would just kind of be a pain to traverse the area, and that is a concern. So I think they'd have to have teleporters that maybe you could go out and activate once you fight back the zombies, or vice versa, the plants, and then you can open up teleporters, maybe do quests to open up teleporters to make it easier to get around the neighborhood. I would really, really love to see this, and hopefully they implement something like that. But let's get to the meaty part of this review, the multiplayer. That's where the brains are, right? It's the multiplayer that everybody really wants to talk about, not just the co-op. I can't really speak about co-op much, keep in mind, because we didn't really see much of that in the beta, aside from the backyard battleground stuff. But The multiplayer, I had a lot of fun with it, and I think that it's very addicting. It's just all the new characters are so much fun, but at the same time, when I first started out, it felt very overwhelming, and I did not get that feeling at all when I jumped into the original Garden Warfare. It felt very natural to me. The maps were not confusing in that game at all. I immediately found my footing in the maps. It was just so natural the way that they created these maps. In this game, in the 4 maps that I played, not so much. The Vanquish confirmed maps, they're a little bit smaller, so they're easier to get a foothold in. But the gardens and graveyards and herbal assault maps, they just kind of feel a little convoluted at first. You do get the hang of it, but it feels like there's too many areas where people can come from, and there's a lot of clutter that I want to see cut down. It seems like they really went overboard, guys, with all of the stuff that they got here. They just went crazy, and it looks good. It's very creative. They've got all this stuff going on, but it's so busy that I think it detracts from the experience. I think that it causes a bit too much distraction, and it also causes some of your gunfire, to get hung up on things when it really shouldn't. And that seems to be an issue. I've had issues flying around with a drone and clipping on walls that aren't there, invisible walls, because like the hitboxes on those walls stick out further than they should. Trees that get in the way when you're trying to snipe. The maps that I played were not very sniper friendly. Maybe it was just me. When I was playing as the cactus in Captain Deadbeard, I had a hard time trying to find line of sight. There didn't really seem like too many sniper perches. And in the original one, it seemed like we had more variety in that way. But again, we've only seen a few maps. I would like to see at least being able to shoot through some of the obstructions, some of the trees and leaves and twigs and things that get in your way. And that kind of annoyed me. It felt, it made it feel a little bit more chaotic. And speaking of chaotic, adding these 6 new characters made things feel much more fast-paced and chaotic than the original. And it is a lot of fun. I was not disappointed with this beta at all. I had a blast. But it's a bit overwhelming, and it's a bit chaotic at first. You do get used to it over time, but there's a lot of explosions going off everywhere. There's lasers flying everywhere, and it feels like it's just much more fast-paced, whereas the original felt a little bit more methodic, if you will. A little bit more strategy was involved. It was a slower-paced game, and that's one of the things that I really loved about it. It was a little bit simpler than what we're seeing from Garden Warfare 2. I don't want to count that as a negative, but it is definitely a different experience. And I've seen people voicing this concern on the forums, on Reddit, on videos. People are definitely noticing a difference in the pacing here. And some people have gone as far to say that it's been kind of Call of Duty-ized. I don't think that it really has. To me, it still feels like Garden Warfare, but just a lot of a faster pace. Maybe they should have brought out some of the characters with the DLC and slowly brought them in. I don't know, but I think that people are going to slowly start to settle into their characters a little bit more, and we won't be seeing too many of the newer characters. We saw pretty much with the first few days, people were exclusively playing those new characters and learning the strategies of how to deal with those characters. It made things a little bit more chaotic when you don't know. As you go along, it tends to things tend to slow down a little bit more. It doesn't feel so crazy. So I think that over time, that's going to be something that works itself out. But it's definitely, no matter what, no matter how used to it you are, it's a much faster paced game. Now, in terms of balance, I'm seeing a few issues, and I know there's a lot of people complaining about the imp. I think that it's not so much that the imp is overpowered, or his mech rather. It's not so much that the mech is overpowered, it's just that there are so many people using it that it really gets annoying. When you've got 2-3 mechs coming at your garden, it's hard to defend against that. But at the same time, it is a big target that can be burned down really quickly if you know how to handle it. Citron can single-handedly destroy a mech. He's very good at that. He's got a lot of damage absorption with his shield. He's got a lot of health, so he can take one of those out. I also found that the cactus is really good at taking them out, and imps in particular. Imps only have 50 health, but they deal a lot of damage. They're incredibly agile, and their hitbox is minuscule. It is very hard to hit them. You have to have great aim to hit an imp, and the cactus is great at that. Cactus, there are some variants that will take an imp out in a single shot. So if you're having trouble with imps, I would recommend getting to know the cactus, which personally is my favorite plant. But they are definitely a little too much. The imp kata ability, it's got way too much range, and it does a ton of damage. I don't so much trouble over the damage that it does as much as the range that it has. When he kicks off that Imkata ability, it wipes every plant within a pretty decent amount of radius. I was surprised at how far the reach was on that, so I would not be surprised at all if we see that catch a nerf, at least in its range and possibly damage. And something else I want to comment about the mech is that when imps go into their mech, they're invulnerable. The second they call down a mech, they can't be hurt. And this is something that is kind of being exploited. Mechs will go into the garden, they'll call down the mech, and they can't be hurt. So it gives them a few more seconds of capture time. Not only that, it's just really cheap. When you come up to an imp and you think you've got him dead to rights and you're going to kill him, you start shooting at him, and then all of a sudden the damage just stops, and you know why. The mech comes down, you got to turn around and run away now. I think that the mech should be an ability that the imp kind of has to call down in a safe area, or at least stealthily away from prying eyes. I don't want to see imps just marching down with no fear, calling down a mech because they know that you can't do anything to them. I don't like that. That needs to change. This invulnerability needs to change. When they get hit, it needs to interrupt, not stop the cooldown entirely. The cooldown should still be the same. I don't think it should reset it, but they should have to kind of get knocked back and try it again in possibly a much safer location. Now, I also want to comment on Colonel Corn. He is awesome, right? He looks awesome. His moves are fun. He's got a cool a corn cob ability. I can't even remember what it was called, where he shoots off the cobs and they explode. It's kind of like what the foot soldier does with the ZPG rocket. I like that ability, and I like the fact that he has like a turret kind of thing. He kind of fires like the All-Star, but his damage seems like it's a bit too weak. And I do like him. I like the butter strike he can call in. I think that's really nice for defense. And the damage so much I don't think needs to be buffed, but I think it would be nice to see him get a little bit longer of ammo loadout so he can fire, and as his standard firing mode a little bit longer. And I definitely, without question, I definitely want to see him get a health buff. He sits at 125 health, and his hitbox is massive, guys. His hitbox is the size of an All-Star or Super Brains. That is a problem. Okay, he's really easy to hit, and he stands out. You see him, and he's going to draw fire. That's just the way it is. People are going to fire at him because he's a big character. He's easy to snipe because he's so big. I've taken him out without any trouble with Captain Deadbeard because you can shoot anywhere around him and it seems to just hit him because he's huge. He's freaking huge. So yes, he needs to be a little bit more tanky. Now, other than that, I haven't really seen any problems in terms of balance. Maybe I overlooked some things. If you guys seen anything like that, let me know in the comments. But I did. I love what they did with the scientist. I love the fact that he no longer has a health station. I couldn't stand that. I never played the scientist, guys. I didn't like his healing ability. He would drop a heal station and there it would sit. You couldn't take your healing mobile. I mean, you could use the healing bombs to throw at people, but the Sunflower had a huge advantage. Her mobility was just massive compared to his. She had a heal station effectively by dropping her flower pot that would heal people, and she could still move around the battlefield with her healing beam. Now, finally, the scientist has his own healing beam. He can go around and do the same thing that the Sunflower did. I'm going to be playing the scientist a lot more, and it also seems like the spread on his shotgun is a little bit wider, so you don't have to be completely dead on with him. It seems to be a little bit more forgiving. Maybe it's just me, but I love the changes to the scientist. I'm going to be playing him way more than I did in the original game. Now, of course, when we talk about changes, we have to talk about the engineer because his drone is gone. The drone for the zombie team is now with Captain Deadbeard, and I think that that was a good move. At first, I didn't know how I felt about it because the engineer was my go-to class for the zombies. I absolutely wrecked face with him in the first Garden Warfare. Pretty much every game I'm the top dog. And I hate to boast about that, but it's true. I loved him because not only could he put up the teleporters, he could put up zombot turrets, and it was great for just farming coins. Anybody who used his teleporter would give him coins, and not only that, but he had great splash damage. He was good for shooting into the garden. But the drone ability, I used to get so many kills with the drone, but they took that away. Okay, and now he's got a turret that he can hop on, much like Captain Deadbeard's, only his is an automatic turret and not a single burst fire weapon. I do like this, and it makes him more of a defense style character. I can see why they did that. Now, it was problematic in the first Garden Warfare where you would see so many engineers standing around staring at their drone terminal instead of getting the teleporter up. This was a problem, and I remember a lot of people shouting over the mic, "Hey engineer, you want to put the teleporter up? We're losing." And it was a problem. So now with his turret, he can get up the teleporter, and he can also defend it with his turret, and it just makes him more of a defense focused character. Before, he was a little bit more of he's kind of a mixed bag. He would put up the turrets and stuff, and he would put up the teleporter, but then at the same time he had great splash damage. He had his drone, so it made him focus a little bit more on attacking, and I think that change is a good one. Now, in terms of the drone with Captain Deadbeard, that feels a lot like the zombot drone that the engineer had. It feels very similar, except for the way that he calls down his strike. It seems like it goes off a little bit quicker and does less damage. Now, of course, while we're talking about drones, we do have to talk about the change that happened with the cactus drone, the garlic drone. Her rate of fire is different. It feels a lot like the retro Gatling P, if you guys remember that from the first Garden Warfare. It's been slowed down, and I think it does a little bit more damage. Maybe I'm mistaken, guys, but it's not as much of a rapid fire. It's a slower rate of fire. And it's interesting to know if we're going to be able to see maybe an upgrade or something where that gets a faster rate of fire, maybe something where you can change out the drone. Maybe you can have a different kind of drone for her that's kind of like the artichoke drone that fires faster. I don't know. Maybe the artichoke drone is going to be the drone that does fire faster instead of slower, because I do believe the artichoke drone for her was the one with the slower rate of fire. They might have swapped it around for whatever reason, but that is definitely a change that I've noticed. I've also noticed that when you fire at people, no matter what class you use, it seems like it's been nerfed quite a bit. And I can only surmise that they've done that because the foot soldier had some crazy range and was really good at kind of sniping. People complained about that being overpowered a lot. And I have to say, foot soldiers, especially on PC with the mouse and keyboard, are lethal accurate. They are basically like snipers, guys. They would just wreck. So it seems like they nerfed the damage from a distance, except for as the cactus and Captain Deadbeard, which I think was a good call. Now, just before I wrap this up, I do want to drive this point home. This was a beta, guys. I mean, I don't think a lot's going to change, but I do think they're going to look at the forums and what people are saying. They're going to take that into consideration. They're going to nerf and buff certain characters based on what people say. And this is going to be an ongoing process. This is something that's going to happen through the cycle of the game's life for many months. I would be surprised if that did not happen. But if I missed anything, please let me know down in the comment section. If you like the changes that are in this game, if you don't like them, let me know, guys. Please remember to thumb this video up so that other people can see it. If you're new here, I ask that you please subscribe. I will be covering Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare 1 and 2 on this channel extensively. I thank you all for watching, and I look forward to seeing you all in my next video.